Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. So this week's Torah and Psychology post for Sukkot is going to look at the significance of the Sukkah. Obviously, this is the Sukkah is a central aspect of how we celebrate Sukkot. It becomes our place of residence for the whole week. We move into the Sukkah. This is where we live. This is where we celebrate the Chag. And we can look at this based on the often cited teaching of the Arizal, and try to understand from a psychological perspective the significance of the Sukkah. So the Arizal says that the minimum dimensions of the Sukkah, being 2 whole walls plus a little bit, is equated. It can be equated to the physical makeup of the body, or from the shoulder to the elbow, and the elbow to the arm, the elbow to the hand, meaning that's 2 whole walls, and then the hand serves as like the extra little wall, which means that this is what it requires. This is what you require physically to give someone an embrace with your whole arm and your hand, to put your arm around someone, to give them a hug. And therefore, the Arizal says that entering into the Sukkah, based on the minimum dimensions of the Sukkah, is like receiving an embrace from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, what does this mean from a psychological perspective? And it's significant in terms of the timing of Sukkot, how it's the conclusion of the year that's been and setting us up and preparing us for the year ahead. Because if we look at from a psychological perspective, attachment theory, the teachings of John Bowlby, and the studies of Mary Ainsworth with the attachment theory and the strange situation, what they're looking at and what they really teach us is the significance of the attachment, the level of attachment, the relationship between a parent, the caregiver, and the child, and how that has an effect on the early childhood development stages, and how that can have then repercussions and project onto the later development of a person. But if a person, through the studies and through the theory of attachment, the attachment theory says that if a person has a secure attachment, this is what creates the foundation, the framework for really giving a person the building blocks and the sense of confidence and security to go out in the world independently, to discover their own talents and to try out and explore in a way, from a curious point of view, the world around them, and to progress and develop and to actually function as a healthy individual. But unfortunately, if people have an insecure or avoidant attachment style with their caregiver based on the interactions and what was created in the early stages of the childhood development, this then creates an insecurity, a lack of confidence. It can have knock-on effects on a person's relationships and their ability to function in an adaptive way. And this can obviously also lead to mental health problems later on in life. So what we see is at the early, especially you could just starting from the early stages, when we see a child where they start to crawl and walk and they start to move around and explore the room around them, they do that from a point of view of confidence, knowing that they can move away, look around them, and if something that scares them, they feel uncertain, they can always go back to their parents. They know that their parent is there. They can feel secure to distance themselves safely and feeling secure and confident, and they can always come back in a secure way to their parent. And if something scared them, they can receive that embrace. They can receive that hug from their parent, and that gives them and reinforces this secure attachment to go again, to go further, to explore further, to move out of the house, to get married, to work in a profession. All this moves on and develops from a place of secure attachment in terms of their emotional makeup and development from the early stages of childhood development. So Sukkot now, this Chag Sukkot, this Zman Simchatenu, is a time to really stop and actually have the ability to understand that through Rosh Hashanah, through Yom Kippur, through the year that we've been through, there have been times where we've gone and explored and we're independent, and perhaps now we realize that things have shaken us up a little bit, especially after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where we have maybe been there's a sense of intimidation, a sense of insecurity, a sense that we're not sure, maybe feeling a little bit lost, that we can always come back. We can always come back to that secure base, to the parent, that attachment with our primary caregiver, the attachment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that throughout the year we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there. We can go off and explore, and we can function in our life independently because we know that relationship is secure. But sometimes And it's always good to know that if we have a time where it's always possible just to come back and get that warm embrace, that warm hug that we want from our parent, to give us that security, to give us that confidence and that reassurance that we can go away again. We can continue with the rest of the year and go forward now with next year with that secure attachment with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So Chag HaSukkot really gives us this time to celebrate the relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, to fully enjoy the warm embrace of our loving parent, the Kodesh Baruch Hu, at this time. I wish you Chag Sameach, good Shabbos, and keep well.